every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. In our major story, President Muhammadu Buhari sacks service chiefs and the National Security Advisor makes new appointments. Also in this program, President Muhammadu Buhari and Senate President Bukola Saraki not at war. Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose and APC at war over alleged desecration of tomb of late Ekiti Deputy Governor Fumi Olayinka. And outside Nigeria, Greece and European Union leaders reach deal on debt bailout. And now the news in details. President Muhammadu Buhari has sacked the National Security Advisor, NSA, Colonel Sambo Dasuki retired, and other service chiefs. The president relieved the service chiefs, including the heads of the Army, Air Force, and Navy, of their appointments. The sacked chiefs are Alex Bade, Chief of Defense Staff, Usman Jibrin, Chief of Naval Staff, Kenneth Manima, Chief of Army Staff, and Adeshala Amoso, Chief of Air Staff. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has named new service chiefs within a few hours of relieving the previous ones of their appointment. He also appointed retired Major General Babangana Mogono as the National Security Advisor to replace retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki. Major General Bayomi Olashakin is new Chief of Defense Staff, while another Major General Tanko Buratai is the Chief of Army Staff. Rear Admiral Iboka Teibas is new Chief of Naval Staff. Air Vice Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff, and Air Vice Marshal Monday Morgan is now the Chief of Defense Intelligence. This, however, is the first time a Nigerian president is naming a Chief of Defense Intelligence. And Mr. President in Abuja urged the newly appointed service chiefs to help him rebuild the reputation of the armed forces and the nation. Addressing them shortly after the appointments were announced, the president also called on them to show utmost commitment to their new duties. He assured them that their nominations will be sent to the National Assembly either today or tomorrow for confirmation. A few hours before he was relieved of his appointment, former Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Kenneth Manima had declared that victory of Boko Haram insurgents is in sight. He maintained that recent military offensive against the terrorists had severely affected their combat capacity. General Manima, who was speaking at the Chief of Army Staff conference in Abuja, argued that the recent spate of suicide bombing in some parts of the country is a consequence of the heat the insurgents are facing in their Sambisa forest enclave. He also assured Nigerians the troops would soon clear the forest of Boko Haram.
More importantly, we would, during this conference, re-examine the state of Operation Zaman Lafayette so as to add more impetus to our offensive into the last remaining enclaves and camps of the terrorists. In the past few months, we have achieved tremendous success in reclaiming all previously occupied territories from the terrorists. Today, the ability to face our gallant troops in any form of combat has been seriously degraded. Consequently, the terrorists have cowardly resorted to attacking innocent and vulnerable citizens in markets, places of worship, and similar places of gathering. I therefore urge you to use the opportunity offered by this conference to deliberate on measures to enable the Nigerian Army, in synergy with sister services, security organizations and agencies, and paramilitary, to adequately respond to these new tactics of the terrorists.
A bomb went off on Monday at a checkpoint on the outskirts of Maiduguri as a suicide bomber was about to be apprehended. A member of the Youth Vigilante Group known as Civilian JTF, Yunus ED, said the suicide bomber, who was on his way to Maiduguri from either Minok or Benin Sheikh, died in the explosion that caused several injuries to 4 other persons. 2 members of the Youth Vigilance Group that tried to search him and 2 women with whom he boarded a taxi. Edie said the taxi driver claimed he suspected that one of his passengers carried a strange object. He added that the driver decided to stop and park at the checkpoint at Njimtilo near Maiduguri, pretending to want to take time out to ease himself. The motorist was said to have secretly told the youth vigilance members at the checkpoint that suspected one of the passengers to be carrying an object which might be a bomb. According to him, the vigilance group members subsequently ordered the passengers to disembark from the vehicle. The suicide bomber was said to have detonated the bomb on him to escape arrest, killing himself and injuring 4 others. Suicide Boko Haram suspects, militants launched an attack on the prison in the southern Niger town of Difa Late on Saturday, in an apparent bid to free fellow members of the sect held there. 3 of the assailants and 1 soldier were killed before the attack was repelled. Boko Haram also attacked the prison in February. A second military source said the attackers may have been residents of Difa, as no one had seen them enter the town. Boko Haram is seeking to carve out an Islamic state in northeast Nigeria. And despite losing territory to an offensive by regional militaries this year, the sect has carried out a wave of deadly attacks in Nigeria, Chad, and Niger in recent weeks. And exactly 1 week after a twin bomb blast killed scores in Jos, the capital city of Plateau State, an Ekwa church in Tudunwada area of Jos was again the target on Sunday morning when several explosive devices were planted within the church premises. The device was said to have been discovered by a guard who picked and threw it across the fence before it went off. Church members who spoke with our correspondents said the church would often welcome about 1,500 members every Sunday was filled to capacity during the incident.
While most Christians in Nigeria went about their religious obligation in church, little did the worshippers at the Evangelical Church Winning Hall, Ekwa, Tudunwada, and Jos, the Plateau State capital, knew it would be a close shave with disaster on the day. For these worshippers, it was a day they will never forget.
When I had the blast in the church this morning, I was confused. I thought it was even a gunshot. I was asking my neighbor in the church. I said, is that a gunshot? He said, mommy, that one is more than gunshot. So that was how it all went, and with the Lord on our side, the service was able to come to an end. We were able to do our worship fully because it was a praise worship service. And we really worship God because He's the one in control. He's the one that covered us with His blood. If not, it would have been something else because that congregation is a very large congregation.
Our church normally takes up to about 1,500 people. Though last Sunday it was 1,400 and something, as it was announced in church this morning. But generally we range between that number and 1,005. And people were a little bit restless after the first sound, but at the end of the day, it was.
David Gwanji, an elder in the church, says, but for security arm, the story would have been different. He added that explosions are heard on a daily basis in Jos and that some even go unreported until casualties are involved.
When the explosion occurred, almost everybody was frightened. People were not sure what happened. Most of the people in church were asking, what is it? Is it a gunshot or a blast or whatever? But those of us who have been listening very well to the kinds of sounds that come out now and again knew that it was a blast. The people at the helm of affairs in church were able to calm the people down, and there was no stampede. I think that helped a lot. It helps in keeping everybody quiet. It was a praise and worship service, and it continued after the first blast. But I learned that there was another blast, but it was not as serious as the first one, because we were all singing and praising God, and then that one happened. But by that time, the anti-bomb squad had already arrived.
Why the state and federal governments continue to work at finding solutions to the incessant bloodletting in the state, it is a clarion call that needs to be heeded before the frustration of residents boil over.
We're joined now by Colonel Adetunde Ajayi, retired. Hello, Colonel. Tell us, how do exactly... You're welcome on the news, Colonel. How exactly did you greet the news of appointment of new service chiefs, especially at the wake of renewed attacks by Boko Haram in Nigeria?
I think I have to congratulate the new service chiefs. You know the question before, the thing is, soldier go, soldier come, barrack remains. And I do not think that the former service chiefs were relieved of their appointment because of the renewed attack of Boko Haram. Whatever has a beginning must have an end. The new officers that are appointed must have always been part of the operation. So there will be a sort of continuity in the operation. So we have to show appreciation to the former chiefs, for doing a good job. And then we pray for the new ones so that they will be able to sustain the operation. But let me tell you, there is no history, there is no record in military history where some generals have received the instrument of surrender from any insurgents in military history. It is a very, very difficult operation, and it's a very serious one.
Okay.
The only thing is for a country not to allow it to stand at all.
Very quickly, Colonel, what exactly do you expect from this new set of leadership? What exactly do you think they need to do differently in their renewed effort against insurgency?
Of course, they just have to review the strategy of the combat. They have to look at how the operations will be sustained in view of the new strategies and tactics of the insurgents. So they should continue to change their tactics. In fact, I want them to have a novel approach to this operation. They should set up a think tank, a group of officers who will be who will be thinking. You know, it's an unusual thing. They should set up a think tank who will be thinking about how the operation should be going. It's different from the operational planning. They should have a hard core of highly intelligent officers as a group, think tank, to continue to think what is the next thing that these terrorists will do? How are we going to counter it? How do we preempt them? You know, how can we be ahead of them? You know? So that thing, they should go to that side, the usual way of fighting, setting up a think tank. That's not part of strategy or tactics, but they should do it now because the operation we have at hand is an unconventional operation requiring unconventional approach. The thing we are looking for is to degrade the capacity of the terrorists, to degrade their capacity to be unable to continue with the operation and for them to surrender. So any we must do it. So a novel idea of setting up a think tank. I think the Japanese did it, before the Pearl Harbor during the Second World War. So they should set up a think tank of highly intelligent officers to sit down and be thinking about what next step we take now. What we expect the insurgents to do. How can we be ahead of them? How can we stop this? How can we stop that? So from that, they won't be able to meet the requirement. I would have been a little bit sad if the president has appointed a retired officer to head the armed forces. But thank God, it means that there is continuity. That was done in Ghana before General Kwanu was brought back from retirement to come and head the Ghanaian army some time ago. So we found out that the president still has confidence in the people that are there. All these boys, we all went to the same academy, we all trained the same staff college, we all trained the same war college. So no different, all of us know the same thing. But it's just a matter of approach and leadership.
Colonel.
And control, ability to impose one's personality on the war front. So that's what I would advise the present crop of chiefs coming. They must be able to impose their personality on the combat in the mission area.
It's all right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Colonel. There seems to be a new twist in this appointment. We have Air Vice Marshal Monday Morgan, who is now the Chief of Defense Intelligence. Is that office relatively new? And what exactly is the importance of that?
Anything that has to do with intelligence is a cloak and dagger, and it's supposed to be a sort of secret service. But in most countries, at times, you don't hear their name. After hearing the name today, you may not hear the name again. You understand me? Because it's not going to be operating like the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, or Chief of Naval Staff. You understand me? He will not be operating like that. So you may not hear about him again. But at times, when people make appointment, high-flying appointment like that, people must know what is going on. But that appointment has been there all along. People have been holding the appointment. You understand me? And you may not know that because the work they do is the underground, not overground. It's not really over, but covered. So you may not hear about them.
It's all right.
The appointments are there, and people have been holding the appointment for a very, very long time.
So probably this is the first time we're having it coming in publicly. Thank you very much for joining us on the news tonight.
I hope I'm able to help you a little out of the dilemma.
Thank you for your contributions. Well, I appreciate it. Colonel Gabriel Ajayi.
God bless you. Happy night rest.
Have a great time joining us. Moving on now, let's go to Ogun State, where the new Commissioner of Police, CP Abdulmajid Ali, has read out riot act to officers and men of the command to brace up now and be more committed to duties, as it would not tolerate any crime or police unprofessionalism recorded in any part of the state. The commissioner made this known on Monday while addressing officers and men of the command in his Elewera office. He restated his dedication to the paradigm shift in the Nigeria police and the ongoing reform policies of the Inspector General of Police IGP Solomon Arase, as well as his plans to implement same across board in Ogun State to have people-oriented policing. In a press release by Ogun State PPRO DSP Olumoyiwa Adejobi, Ali reiterates the launched platforms by the IGP through which members of the public can lodge their complaints to the Nigeria police. The platforms include CP's hotline number 08055885554, the Force Complaints Officers 07056792065, and the Police Public Relations Officer Ogun State 08037168147 or 08123822910. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a break now and I'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
As news breaks, people don't let events pass without giving their comment or reactions.
When the problem arises in society, these are the people that should be consulted.
To cleanse the corruption in society, we are not to provide information for good life and also security of life and property in this country.
The academic society have the loudest voice on this platform.
Whether you call it a sovereign national conference or a national conference, it is about the people of Nigeria.
There should be a change in power.
In any way they can do it.
I think there's a script already.
Every Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. on this station. From the Ivory Tower, a must-watch for the learning minds.
Is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is the month where the Holy Quran was first sent down to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. During this month, Muslims all around the world must fast. They do not eat or drink between sunrise and sunset, and it is obligatory on all Muslims if they are physically and mentally sound, except for the traveler, elderly, pregnant, menstruating, or chronically ill. Whoever cannot fast, it is their duty to feed the poor if they have the financial ability. It is not only abstinence from food and drink, but also a test for patience in refraining from evil actions, thoughts, and words. It is a test to demonstrate submission to Allah, God, and a way to keep the mind and body focused on good deeds and attaining self-discipline. At night, Muslims perform extra prayers in addition to the 5 daily prescribed prayers. It is also a requirement that Muslims give charity to the poor by the end of Ramadan. The rewards for good actions are multiplied in this month, and this is why it is encouraged to reassess our actions, make beneficial use of our time, do extra prayers, read the Quran, and ask for forgiveness so that we may attain paradise through Allah's mercy, insha'Allah.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, it's CoreTV Primetime News. Another look at our top story. President Muhammadu Buhari sacks service chiefs, National Security Advisor, makes new appointments. Senator says President Muhammadu Buhari and Senate President Bukola Saraki are not at war. Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose and APC at war over alleged desecration of tomb of late Ekiti Deputy Governor Fumi Olayinka. And you can get all of our top stories on any of our social media platforms. At Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. At Twitter handle is at CoreTV News NG, and we're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/CoreTV, Liver Space and News. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the release of former head of service Stephen Orosaye from the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. It also directed Defense Counsel Kanu Agabi to make an undertaking that the accused person would not evade justice. Basil Okafor has more on this report presented from our studios.
The former head of service was brought to court from one of EFCC holding facilities. Orosaye, who retired from the civil service in 2010, was in the dock on a 24-count charge to which he pleaded not guilty, and he will be going home to his family. Justice Kolawole issued the order after listening to an oral bail application by the defense counsel, which the prosecution was not comfortable with. The prosecution, Ali Yusuf, argued that the bail application had to be documented and urged the court to remand Orosaye and the other accused persons remanded in prison pending hearing on their bail application. In a short ruling, Justice Kolawole directed that the former head of service be released from EFCC custody, but insisted that the lead defense counsel, Kanu Agabi, must do an undertaking that the accused person will not evade justice. He based his decision to release Orosaye and his co-accused persons on the grounds that they had been on administrative bail. The judge, Kolawole, thereafter fixed July 21 for hearing on the bail application and set a trial date for October 28 and 29.
The senator representing Bauchi South at the National Assembly, Senator Ali Wakili, has dismissed insinuations that there is a cold war between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Senate President Bukola Saraki Wakili, while speaking at the press conference in Bauchi on Monday, said such reports were meant to create bad blood between the president and the Senate president. There have been reports, however, that the alleged war between Buhari and Saraki informed the decision of Buhari to instruct the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Anastasia Nwobia, not to honor an invitation by the Senate. According to him, the power of the presidency and that of the Senate, as well as the judiciary, are spelled out in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the Constitution. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday in Abuja assured investors that his administration will implement far-reaching reforms to boost accountability and transparency in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Speaking at the meeting with senior officials of Chevron, led by the company's president for Africa and Latin America, Ali Mashiri, President Buhari declared that his administration was ready to effectively address the myriad challenges in the sector. Acknowledging the merits of the amnesty program initiated by President Umaru Yar'Adua to reduce violence in the Niger Delta region, President Buhari said that his administration will build on good aspects of the program. And the president on Monday in Abuja says the administration will handle the petroleum products with care. Subsidies on petroleum products. Speaking after receiving a briefing from the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), and other agencies in the oil sector, President Buhari says that he will carefully review all the submissions he had received on the need to remove the subsidies. President Buhari also said that the lack of security, sabotage, vandalism, corruption, and mismanagement, not necessarily subsidies, are the most serious problems of Nigeria's oil sector. He promised to deal decisively with the identified problems of the oil and gas sector. The Senate President Bukola Saraki has said it was under his leadership that the Senate first initiated moves to have a downward review of the total package accruable to legislators in the upper chamber immediately after their inauguration. Saraki, who spoke through his special advisor on media and publicity, Yusuf Olaniyan, in Abuja, explained that the question of whether the Senate would follow the footsteps of the presidency by cutting own salaries did not arise. Saraki said he invited the management of the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission for a briefing on the actual amount being received by lawmakers as salaries and allowances, in line with this decision to maintain transparency in handling the affairs of the National Assembly. His special advisor on media and public affairs, Raki Hassan, quoted Dogara, the Speaker of the House of Reps, as saying that an independent committee of experts and professionals, including development partners, will be constituted with the sole mandate of conducting needs assessment of the House of Representatives. He says no member of the House will be part of the committee so as to insulate it from any influence. The over 500 million naira Governor Adams Oshiomhole takes home monthly as security vote when the state is not in crisis has been described as unfortunate and questionable. The state PDP chairman Dan Obi, while briefing party faithfuls and journalists at the party secretariat in Benin City as regards financial recklessness, says the governor has no moral right to accuse others when he is not clean. Edo State correspondent files in the report.
The party chairman, who tendered vouchers of March 2013 to the effect which the security votes were collected at will when the state is not in crisis, described it as disturbing, adding that he is ready to furnish the EFCC document with all the atrocity of the present administration as long as the anti-graft agency is not selective. He also alleged that the inability of some local governments to pay salaries was attributed to the governor, who often slashes their allocation.
To refund to the treasury all money collected from the time he assumed office under the heading of security challenges, because there are no security challenges. Do you have Boko Haram in Edo State? No. Except for a few reported cases of people stealing gold and breaking into homes.
Meanwhile, the state APC publicity secretary, Godwin Erahon, defended Adams Oshiomhole by saying that such monies is being used to address social issues and other state challenges.
The governor collects as a security vote. But let me also say that it is the prerogative of, because it's part of the privileges of the governor. And security vote is not meant for police, it's not meant for soldiers alone. It's beyond just violence or whatever, or war in the state. It also has to take care of some social responsibilities. For example, in the state where PDP left majority of our youth unemployed, to curb the menace of criminals in the state required some serious logistics, which governor is not obliged to disclose to the people. Because when you say security, it means security in all areas, both prevention and then control.
However, the PDP chairman also lamented that the 30 billion naira funds obtained from the capital market to address erosion challenges through water storm by the governor is yet to be seen.
Meanwhile, Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole on Monday said he has welcomed the call by the state chapter of the PDP to the Economic Financial Crimes Commission to conduct a probe on the state local government account. The state chairman of the party, Dan Obi, had on Sunday in a press briefing called on the EFCC to investigate the operation of the local government funds owing to the non-payment of salaries of the council workers. Obi had also challenged the governor to forfeit his security votes to enable the councils fulfill the financial obligation to the aggrieved employees. But the governor, in a statement by Special Advisor on Media and Public Affairs, Prince Kazim Afegwa, urged the anti-graft agency to begin the probe starting from 1999, when the opposition party controlled the state. And of course, the governor said while the state under his leadership was driven by prudence in the management of resources, he was proud that the achievements of his administration in the last 6 years far supersede that of the PDP's 10 years of governance in this state. The allegation by Governor Adams Oshiomhole of Edo State that former Minister of Finance Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala spent $1 billion out of the excess crude account to fund the re-election bid of former President Jonathan is a kind of ludicrously false statement that has unfortunately become a trademark of the governor in his public campaign of falsehood against Dr. Okonjo-Iweala. The statement, according to a press release signed by media advisor to the former minister, Paul Nwabuko, is just another example of the numerical diarrhea that seems to have afflicted his ex in recent times in his effort to damage the reputation of the former minister. The former minister added that the Edo State governor has, within the last few months, asked her to explain all kinds of totally wide and unsubstantiated figures, ranging from $30 billion, $20 billion, $2.1 billion, 720 billion naira, and now $1 billion. To say the obvious, the accusations, he says, are totally lacking in credibility. The Board of Trustees, the People's Democratic Party, has ruled out any possibility of holding the party's National Convention next month, warning that going against the provision of the party's constitution on already established tenure of all party levels of the PDP would amount to invitation of uncontrolled litigations. In a statement yesterday by the BOT Secretary Wale Jibrin, there was no way the PDP can hold National Convention next month when it was yet to receive report of the PDP Post-Election Assessment Committee, which has Deputy Senate President Eko Ekwuemadu as chairman. The office of the Accountant General of Ekiti State today became a theater of protest as the state civil servants protested over the non-remittance of the deductions made from their salaries for the month of May. The union thereafter gave the state government a 24-hour ultimatum to pay or further actions from the workforce will be unleashed. Rashid has more in this report.
The office of the Ekiti State Accountant General took a new look as work resumed for the week. No thanks to the protest led by leaders of various labor unions and some of their members. Their grounds is the non-remittance of monthly deductions made from their salaries to pay up loans and cooperatives, especially that of the month of May. The workers staked their grievance, adding that the problem is not with the state governor, but the Accountant General's office.
Divided we beg, but united we demand. What we are demanding for is the immediate release of our May 2015 salary. and deductions for 2015. It is our right. It is not a privilege, and it is not our benefit.
After a series of meetings with the labor leaders, the Accountant General Oluwayemi Owolabi addressed the protesters with a promise to start disbursement of the deductions, saying the money is available, contrary to some erroneous belief that it is not there.
As long as the deductions are not paid, then salaries are not paid. Hopefully, by the grace of God, the deductions will be getting alert by the labor people tomorrow.
The labor leaders say they will be holding the state government to the promise, vowing to take further steps if it's not kept.
We want to take you for your words, and we believe that as soon as we get the alert, we'll get back to you. We will get back to you as soon as the alert is received. And if the alert is not received as well, we'll get back to you.
With the promise by the Accountant General being held up by the workers, the clock ticks from now as Ekiti workers wait for the expiration of the 24-hour ultimatum or go on industrial action. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress in Ekiti State has accused Governor Ayodele Fayose of desecrating the tomb of a late Deputy Governor Funmilayo Olayinka. Olayinka served as deputy to former Governor Kayode Fayemi between October 16, 2010 and April 6, 2013, when she died of cancer. In a statement by the APC chairman for Ado Ekiti local government, Mr. Dio Adigo, the party expressed reservation that Fayose is building a women's center within the confines of the park and almost right on the tomb. He says the party says it as a disservice and deliberate extreme partisanship to fight and dishonor Moremi even in death. According to him, there are lots of open and undesignated spaces across the state capital that could be used for the so-called Women's Center. However, Fayose, through his special assistant on public communications and new media, Lyria Olayinka, said building a 4-story edifice in front of the late Deputy Governor's tomb could not amount to desecration. Governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, on Monday stopped his convoy to help an accident victim on his way to work. The victim, Anukam Angela, who was driving alone in her car in the morning, lost control and rammed into the median of the road along Osborne Road, Ikoyi, before the vehicle somersaulted. The governor instructed the ambulance attached to his convoy to convey Miss Angela, who was in a state of shock and could barely move or talk, to be taken to the Lagos Island General Hospital for treatment. Angela's sister, Amaka, who was contacted shortly after the incident, said she was treated for minor injuries and discharged free of charge on the order of the governor. We'll take another break now, and I'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, treasure looters that are in government today, not a poor people.
We'll bring to you divergent views.
You know my position about his level of competence or otherwise.
News making the headlines.
I didn't go to school so that people can intimidate me with their ideas, no.
Sometimes it gets confrontation. If you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada. You will bring back the market women back on the streets.
They don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest.
Stop making innuendos.
Every weekday, we'll bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has the right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge. Outside Nigeria, Eurozone leaders have agreed to offer Greece a third bailout after marathon talks in Brussels. Amid one of the worst crises in the EU's history, the head of the European Commission said the risk of Greece leaving the Eurozone had been averted. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said that after a tough battle, Greece had secured a growth package and debt restructuring. Greece will now have to pass reforms demanded by the Eurozone by Wednesday, and this include measures of streamlined pensions, raise tax revenue, and liberalize the labor market. Russia's officials have confirmed that a section of a Russian military barracks has collapsed, killing 23 soldiers near the Siberian city of Omsk. Further 19 servicemen have been pulled alive from the rubble. 5 others are still missing. There were more than 300 soldiers in the training facility for paratroopers when the accident happened overnight. The building underwent repairs a year ago, and it's expected that poor quality work may have caused the collapse. The Iraqi army announcement of the offensive comes 2 months after ISIL seized Amber's capital Ramadi. A military statement on Iraqi state television has confirmed that Iraqi troops backed by mainly Shia militias have launched offensive to recapture the Anbar province from Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The announcement of offensive comes 2 months after ISIL sealed Amber's capital Ramadi, extending their control over the Sunni Muslim province west of Baghdad. French police are now hunting for 3 armed men who stormed a Primark store in a suspected robbery attempt north of Paris. The gunmen fled the scene after special forces evacuated 18 people trapped inside a Quas shopping center in Levenvaux-la-Grenie. None of those released. 18 people was injured. And now to business. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund (IMF) said they would establish an initiative to help developing countries strengthen their tax systems ahead of the Financing for Development conference scheduled in Ethiopia. According to a recent joint statement carried by their official websites, the two bodies vowed to deepen the dialogue with developing countries on international tax issues with an aim to help increase their weight. The two international financial institutions also plan to develop diagnostic tools to help member countries evaluate and strengthen their tax policies. Chinese Finance Minister Liu Jingwei is expected to represent President Xi Jinping at the event. Deposit money banks in the country have commenced implementation of charges on cash withdrawal in excess of the stated limit. This follows the suspension of charges on withdrawals for both individual and corporate account holders in 30 states of the Federation till July 1, 2015. The Central Bank of Nigeria had in June 2014 explained that the waiver was to give banks time to deploy adequate infrastructure required to support the sensitization of bank customers and the importance of the policy. Consequently, messages have been flying from the banks reminding the customers of the nationwide implication or implementation of charges on excess withdrawals. Nigeria's financial situation might just get worse if the prediction of the International Energy Agency (IEA) is anything to go by. According to the agency, oil prices will fall further this year because the world remains massively oversupplied before markets tighten in 2016. Nigeria's economy is experiencing some difficulties because of the decline in the price of crude oil. The country's current daily production averaged at 1.8 million barrels per day, as against projected 2.3 million barrels per day in the 2015 budget of the government. According to the IEA, there will be no overall production growth outside the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC) next year for the first time since 2008. The Managing Director, Bank of Agriculture (BOA), Professor Dambala Danju, has called for the repositioning and funding of the agriculture sector to boost food production in the country. Danju said this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja that he hoped that the federal government would inject more funds into the Bank of Agriculture for farmers to access. He said agriculture was a key sector for the government of Nigeria and indeed for governments in Africa because the majority of the population was into agriculture. He added that the BOA could be repositioned to be one of the leading banks not only in the country but also in Africa. And now to sports stories. Manchester United have completed
our style, that's what he delivered. Here's that ball storming, now he takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Go taking them out in the lead.
Manchester United have completed the double signing of Germany midfielder Bastian Schweinsteiger and French international Morgan Schneider. Schweinsteiger, 30, has signed a 3-year contract from Bundesliga champions Bayern Munich for a reported 14.4 million. Schneider has moved from fellow Premier League club Southampton for a fee in the region of 25 million. The 25-year-old midfielder has signed a 4-year contract with the option to extend it by a further year. United have already signed forward Memphis Depay and defender Matthew Demain this summer, and the two new arrivals take their spending to more than 80 million. Chelsea have signed Asma Begovic from Premier League rival Stoke City for an undisclosed fee, reported to be 8 million. The Bosnia-Herzegovina international joins Chelsea on a 4-year deal. Stoke had hoped to keep the 28-year-old, who had 1 year remaining on his contract, at the Britannia Stadium. I've loved my time at Stoke, but feel I had to take this opportunity to continue to develop and challenge myself as a player, Begovic said. Begovic, who joined the Porters from Portsmouth in 2010, is the champion's second signing of the summer, following the arrival of Radamel Falcao on a season-long loan. And Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers has confirmed the transfer of England international Raheem Sterling to a rival Premier League team, pending a medical test. British media reported on Sunday that Sterling was moving to Manchester City in a deal worth £49 million. Rodgers, speaking at the news conference in Thailand, where Liverpool are kicking off their pre-season tour of Asia and Australia, did not provide any specific details on the transfer, but confirmed that an agreement had been reached. Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers, in his reaction on Liverpool's tour of Southeast Asia, says the situation is simply simple and in order for a deal for Raheem to be transferred and subject to medical that will go through. To end CoreTV Primetime News tonight, we'll do a recap of the top stories.